Hello, this is a special presentation of the Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. I'm Larry Rhodes.
And I'm Faithless Forrest Erickson. And we want you to know that if you don't believe in God, you're not alone. Right here in East Tennessee, you can find free-thinking atheists and agnostics. This is a show for them and for people curious about living a life free of supernatural beliefs.
Our show is usually on Tuesdays from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, but tonight's show is a one-off special. This is a call-in show. However, we only have one phone line, so if you can't get through, we invite you to email us questions at freethoughtforum@yahoo.com.
All right. Tell us about the Atheist Society of Knoxville.
Okay. Excuse me. This is Community Access TV. The Atheist Society of Knoxville is a fun meetup, often at a bar or eatery. Sometimes we do karaoke. Tonight's meetup, Tuesday night's meetup is at Barley's for happy hour after the show for food, drink, and conversation. Fridays, we often meet at Beard and Beer Garden. Join our meetup to visit the site and find all of our locations and times. When you get to our meetups, look for the silver-jacketed copy of The God Delusion standing upright on the table. And as Matt Dillahunty of the Atheist Experience says, everyone is welcome to visit our happy hour for food, drink, and conversation. But if you plan to preach, proselytize, provoke, or punch, please don't.
The monthly activities of the Rationalists of East Tennessee. On the first and third Sunday mornings, we usually have lectures and lively roundtable discussions. Tentatively, June 3rd's discussion is about the greenhouse of the dinosaurs. The second Sunday is book club. June's book is Man-Made God, a collection of essays by Barbara Walker. Miss Walker is also the author of The Woman's Encyclopedia of Myth and Secrets and a frequent contributor to Freethought Today, the newsletter of the Freedom from Religion Foundation. The fourth Sunday of the month is a reflections gathering. It's a potluck afternoon get-together, usually at a member's home.
You can visit our websites for additional monthly program details and all the future book clubs, times, and locations.
All right, this evening, with viewers calling in to help by asking questions, we will introduce ourselves, your friendly neighborhood atheists. All right, in the news? All right. Well, we've just about finished May. We've got a few hours left. But while there is time, there are a few Freethought birthdays that we want to observe. Richard Feynman, a physicist, was born on May 11th in 1918 in Far Rockaway, Queens. His family originated from Russian Poland, and both were of Jewish ancestry. Not religious in his youth, Richard Feynman described himself as an avowed atheist. Feynman, in common with the famous physicist Edward Teller, was a late talker, and by his third birthday had yet to utter a single word. I was a little like that. I still spell and have goofy difficulties transitioning from the written to the spoken. The young Feynman was heavily influenced by his father, Melville, who encouraged him to ask questions and challenge orthodox thinking. His mother, Lucy, from her, he gained a sense of humor that he had through all his life. His lectures are often delightfully funny, and he would play bongos and be entertaining. His lectures were a real treat.
Speaking of his lectures, you can find quite a few of them on YouTube today.
He had a great phrase that I like. It was in the book 6 Easy Pieces. He talked about science as creating an ever-expanding sphere of ignorance, by which he meant that we develop better and better questions the more we know. All right.
Bertrand Russell, born May 18th, 1872. He is considered one of the founders of analytic philosophy, along with his predecessor Gottlob Frege and his friend Ludwig Wittgenstein.
That one would hurt me too to say.
And is widely held to be one of the 20th century's premier logicians. He also is the author of Why I Am Not a Christian. Bertrand Russell described himself as both an agnostic and an atheist, as do I. For most of his adult life, Russell maintained that religion is little more than superstition, and despite of any positive effects, that religion might have, it's largely harmful to people. He believed that religion and religious outlooks, he considered communism and other systematic ideologies to be a form of religion, serve to impede knowledge, foster fear and dependency, and are responsible for much of the war, oppression, and misery that has beset the world. He was a member of the Advisory Council of the British Humanist Association and a president of the Cardiff Humanists until his death.
All righty. Well, I read Why I'm Not a Christian, and in it he made a very interesting point about how when he says that when he's talking to people, depending upon his audience, he will use the word atheist versus agnostic, because he feels that to people who may not understand the subtle implications of those words, that it's more accurate for him to say atheist, even though he maintains a sort of a mental reservation, mentally crossing his fingers, so to speak, that we know we can't disprove all gods, the ones that haven't been thought of yet.
Right, and that's of course the distinction. Many viewers may wonder why I said I was an agnostic and an atheist, or why Bertrand Russell said he was. An agnostic is one that says he has no knowledge of God. In other words, he doesn't know if there's God or not. That's what agnosticism or Gnosticism addresses. Theism, on the other hand, addresses belief. You can say, I don't know if there's God or not, but you can still either believe in a God, which would be theism, or not believe in God, which is atheism. So you can be both an agnostic and an atheist.
All right.
You can be a Gnostic theist or an agnostic theist, or any combination of the two.
Why don't you make the plea for additional callers, and I'm going to swap out with another host.
Okay. This is a call-in show. We have about a 7-minute delay. So if you're calling in, would you please mute your television and pay strict attention to the phone? But we do welcome callers at this time. Today we'll be introducing quite a few different hosts. These are hosts that do our normal program on Tuesday nights. This being a special occasion, we'd like to bring in some of those hosts for a little bit of time on this show to familiarize this particular airtime audience with their different hosts. Johannes, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I am excellent now that my mic is on me. Hello, my name is Johannes. I, from time to time, co-host Freethought Forum. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm here to discuss definitions.
We have definitions for sure. We were talking about atheism and agnosticism. Would you consider yourself one, the other, or both?
I would consider myself, as Dawkins himself put it, on the atheism scale from 1 to 7. 1 being an absolute believer in God, number 7 being an absolute disbeliever in God, a 6, one who by and large disbelieves in a God or gods and merely waits on the evidence.
So, but still, if you're talking atheism, you're still talking about belief. You really haven't
absolutely
knowledge of anything. Let's start this. Atheism, it says, comes from a Greek word. Theos means a god, or with a god.
Yes.
Atheos means without a god. I mean, do you believe, if somebody asks you a question, do you believe in God, and you say no, you're an atheist. Now, a lot of people don't like the label, but that's not the atheist's fault. The atheists have been painted, or the word atheist, have been painted with a very dark brush by the religious folk over many millennia. They've had plenty of time to paint us as baby-killing, sodomites, et cetera, et cetera. But I haven't killed any babies lately, and I certainly don't encourage other people to do so.
Yeah, no, I have no intention to harm anyone. As far as questions go, we have time today only for one real question: atheism, the definition of atheism, the textbook definition of atheism. So we only have time today for very short questions. So if you intend to call in today, and the number is on your screen at the bottom, please do. But we don't have a lot of time. But let's start with it. Atheism, theism. If you want to get into etymology, theos, God, as a prefix to any, I guess, Greek. A word of Greek etymology. If you want to stick a in front of any of those words, atheos, case in point, or agnostic, case in point, unknowledgeable. Theos means a god or gods. Atheism answers a single question as far as a word goes. It means, do you believe in God or gods? The answer is no. Atheism means no God or gods. I am a believer in no God or gods. I don't believe in Thor. I don't believe in Baal. I don't believe in Mithras. I don't believe in, I don't believe in a particular number of gods, but...
any particular God. We'd like to also talk about deconversion stories. Do you have a particular deconversion story that you'd like to talk to about?
Absolutely.
Give us a little.
No, I'm happy to discuss my deconversion story. I was raised Catholic. I attended a Jesuit school, kindergarten through 8th grade, and they were very, very forthcoming with some of the church's abuses as a secular organization. You know, the church representing God on earth, as they were. They were very forthcoming about abuses that the church had committed in the past, crimes even. And I respected that, and to this day, to an extent, I respect the Catholic Church, if only because, in the face of fact, scientific fact, the Catholic Church has had an excellent, I guess, history of backing down. They don't blatantly say it's false, it's heresy, for the most part, granted with a few exceptions.
Well,
they're happy to, with plenty of exceptions.
I would say they have a good record in the fact that they ultimately did back down.
Yes.
However, in many cases, it's taken them as much as 500 years to do it, and many of the people that they oppressed during that time died before they ever backed down.
It's a big organization, man. It's like the government. It takes them time to accomplish anything. Yeah. But, well, nonetheless, we have
a call.
We have a call.
What does this?
Do you believe in an evil force like Satan?
No.
No. I believe in an evil force, and the evil force is not supernatural in origin. The evil force is the erosion of the foundation of the United States government. The erosion of the foundation of the United States government by religious forces. The influence of the church upon the state is erosive. It's dangerous.
But any supernatural being, if you talk to most atheists, I'd say 75, 80% of the world population of atheists will say that they don't believe in any type of supernatural being at all. Now, the exceptions of 20, 25% might be Buddhism, Taoism. They may believe in certain evil forces or good forces that are transcend human experience, but even they don't believe in God. I mean, Buddhists don't believe that Buddha was a god. Taoists don't believe in a god. Confucianism doesn't believe in God. So there are whole religions that don't believe in God, which is kind of strange when you think about it. Earlier we said that if you answer the question, do you believe in God, with no, then you are an atheist, no matter whether you like the label or not. I would go one step farther and saying if you answer it anything but yes, then you're an atheist, because you don't have a positive belief in a deity, which would make you a theist.
Which is why statistics, as far as non-believers, atheists, free thinkers, are so difficult to compile. But it has an impact.
Yeah. And the number of non-believers is growing. The number of nuns, which is like when you answer a question on a survey what religion you are, and you check none, then you're a nun. So the number of nuns are growing.
Nuns or nuns?
Nuns.
Not the kind that used to beat my fingers with meter sticks, right?
No, not that.
Oh, okay, a different kind.
We have a call. Welcome to Freethought Forum. May we have your name or nickname?
Yeah, it's Richard.
Hello, Richard.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple question. You know, I often hear that atheists worship a Satan or an evil figure, and so my question is more: do you all believe that there is an evil force in the world controlling people either directly or indirectly, and do you have some worship that goes towards that?
No.
The most evil force controlling man is not supernatural at all.
It's man.
It's ignorance, which more often than not is generated by man himself.
Right.
Ignorance is the blight upon our population. Ignorance is what influences man negatively. It is fear. It is
Well, one other thing
lack of knowledge.
I would answer about your particular question about believing in a devil. The devil is one of the supernatural creatures in the Christian pantheon of supernatural creatures. Thank you. We don't believe in any supernatural creatures. Why would we believe in a creature that comes from the Christian pantheon of that type of creatures?
Any more than we would believe in Loki, a mischievous creature from another. No.
We don't even believe in the concept of worship generally. I mean, worship is not something that we'd practice or do or even recognize as valid.
Yeah. The Avengers was a fantastic movie, and Loki is part of the, I guess, the Norse pantheon as a trickster god, an evil or undesirable being. But that doesn't mean we believe in him any more than we would believe in Satan, an undesirable being of another mythology.
Or demons.
Okay, so another question though that often gets brought up when I hear anything about an atheist is do you hate God? I mean, do you despise the thought of God, or?
Well, do you hate Santa Claus? Do you hate the Easter Bunny? You don't hate something that you don't believe exists. Now, we could hate a concept, but that still wouldn't be a God, because let's say that you have a concept of a God who can read your thoughts and punish you for any bad thoughts, hold you accountable for the rest of eternity, blah, blah, blah. That concept is a terrible concept. It's a supreme intergalactic,
Hitchens once put it as a celestial North Korea.
Yeah. And that
not to offend our North Korean viewers, but the dear leader is deceiving you.
But as far as hating a God, we don't hate something that we don't believe exists.
Right. Okay.
Well,
I appreciate you all for your time.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Call again. I think that at this time we'll be moving on to the next.
Sure. Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's been tremendous speaking with you. It's been tremendous speaking with you.
And
I'll leave you be.
Remember, every Tuesday from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock is our normal broadcasting time. And also we have happy hour for the Atheist Society of Knoxville right after the show on Tuesday nights at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria in the Old City. And we'll hope that you'll come down and join us. And this is Eric. Let me mic him up here.
How you doing?
Fine. How are you?
Pretty good.
Glad to finally get you on the show. I've been after you for a long time.
Yeah,
to come on.
highly sought after.
Would you have anything to say about the concepts of atheism and agnosticism before we go on to particular questions? We've been talking about that all evening.
Okay.
Mind if I ask you a few questions then?
Go right ahead.
Some of our regular show guests share our views on deconversion stories. I just asked Johannes to do his. Most of us have come from religious backgrounds. Some of us haven't. Can you share yours with us?
Sure. Mine wasn't really a story of deconversion or conversion. It was more of a story of realization. When I was 22 years old, I started asking a lot of questions of my friends and family about, things like the meaning of life and about religion. And hardly anybody wanted to talk to me about it, but my brother did enlighten me and introduced me to a show called Cosmos that had been around for since the 1970s by Carl Sagan. And he talked very little about religion during the show, but what I was able to do is use the concepts that I learned from the show and apply those to everything. And religion just happened to be one of them. Also, I read a book by Carl Sagan called Demon Haunted World, and in it he talks about Occam's razor. And Occam's razor is a principle urging one to select among competing hypotheses that which makes the most sense, or that which has the fewest assumptions is thereby offers the simplest explanation of the effect. And okay, here's another question. And for me, the simplest explanation was no gods. So that was the simplest explanation that I got.
In other words, the things that we see in us, in the universe around us, in the world, can be explained by natural causes. So
right.
calling on a supernatural being to explain those as superfluous and violates Occam's razor.
Right, and that's unnecessary.
Yeah.
Right.
Knowing that you're an atheist, do people try to share their religion with you?
Yeah. Well, one thing is I don't call myself an atheist. I don't believe in any gods, but you know, I think, like Sam Harris says, you shouldn't put a label on something that you're not. I don't eat meat, but I don't consider myself a vegetarian. I'm skeptical about a great many things, which is don't believe in a great many things or concerned about a great many things, but I don't call myself a skeptic. Anyway, so I don't call myself an atheist, even though I don't believe in any gods.
Yeah.
But back to your question, I'd like to make an analogy about this table. I assume it's made out of, it was manufactured, okay?
Created.
Created. You know, and people say that a watch requires a watchmaker, so that way they relate that to everything. But with this table, I'm assuming with enough time we could figure out where it came from. We could find out, we could actually, if they're still in production, we could actually go and see them being produced. And the people who produced it could also demonstrate it to us. And, you know, with enough time, they could possibly even teach us how to do it ourselves. And the thing with faith, when people give me a faith story, it's always like, well, you know, it's a each individual experience for everyone. Mm-hmm. Well, I think the parents can relate out there that, you know, if you don't treat your children all the same, you have a tendency to have problems. Mm. So that's kind of how I apply that.
Why would God bless one person with a great experience that brings them to God when he just let everybody hang?
Exactly, exactly. Why does he treat his children so differently? And that's when they usually talk about that. But, you know, faith is the ultimate caveat. Mm-hmm. I had faith. I was a Christian for the first, I guess, half of my life now.
Now they tell you weren't a true Christian because you didn't continue on.
Right. My father died when I was young, and even after his death, I mean, I had questions, but I didn't question whether the fact that God or Jesus existed. And I prayed about it a lot too. But God, you know, what I thought was a God didn't offer any explanation, didn't offer me any comfort, didn't offer any words. The comfort I got was from
friends,
people,
family,
friends and family.
So you had some good experiences with people even after you lost your beliefs.
Have I? No,
you?
I haven't really. You know, people generally are they want to, you know, teach me or you know, see what I'm missing out on or see what I'm mad about. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, I don't have very good. People don't. It's not received very well.
Right. I mean, yeah, I've been there. Mm-hmm. Try to go to a family reunion or something, and then you just, one, that you don't want to talk about it, and two, when the subject comes up, people like to just turn around and walk away and go the other direction.
Right.
So have you had a lot of bad reactions then when that subject comes up?
It used to be more, and I thought I've been in Tennessee for, I guess, going on maybe 16 years. You know, I thought that would, you know, be more of an issue here, but, you know, generally people just think that you're confused or you're mad at God, and it's not been really negative that I've experienced. Yeah,
I found that the people that were around me before they knew that I didn't believe in God assumed that I did.
Right.
And if they didn't believe, and this has happened too, some of the people that after I came out, I found out that they didn't believe either. Right. But they didn't say anything, I didn't say anything. Right. And there were friends that I was going to make later only because I came out, because they wouldn't really associate with me because they assumed that I was a religious person.
Right. I have, I do legacy videos for people, and I did try to talk to a church about it. And I spoke to 3 churches, but one church, they kind of knew who I was, and they just rejected it offhand. It's like, I can't put somebody who doesn't believe in God in front of these people. I mean, I would lose all credibility. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm not going to talk to them about no God. I'm going to talk to them about preserving their family history. And he was just like, you know, I'm sorry, I just can't do it. I said, okay.
It disqualified you right off.
Exactly, for, you know, for...
Well, like they're thinking that you're going to try to deconvert them or something, or change them over?
I
Have you
don't
ever
know.
tried to deconvert believers or talk them anybody out of their religious beliefs?
Generally speaking, no. I will talk to people if they engage me. If somebody wants to believe in a religion, yeah, knock yourself out. I just, generally it's not met with, not necessarily negative, but not positive. People's, especially with work, I dealing with people and having my own business. People might say something like, well, so-and-so was saved, and that's a good thing, and I'll say, oh, okay. But if they ask me directly, well, what are your beliefs? And I tell them directly, I don't talk about my, I don't share, anything about politics or religion or anything controversial, because that has absolutely nothing to do with what I do. My business, I do video production. And that has
Your personal beliefs don't
exactly. So I just don't get into them.
You are a member of the Atheist Society of Knoxville. You're one of the first members.
Yeah.
I remember you and I sitting around a table, just the two of us, in the early years, about 10 years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
So what do you think about AISK now?
Well, I think it's definitely grown. It's more than I don't get to come as much as I'd like to. I have kids, and sometimes kids get in the way of your social life. So, but the group has definitely grown, and I've gone to several meetings in the past. Again, I don't come that much, but I've gone to several meetings the last year, and everybody's very friendly, and it's a much bigger group, and much more diverse than the two of us just sitting back and forth.
Officially, we have like nearly 400 members now.
Wow.
And on a Tuesday night, we usually get between 15, 25 people. On a good night, it's around 25 people, so it's cool.
Wow.
What would you say your biggest problem with organized religion would be?
Well, again, if somebody wants to believe what they want to believe, an adult, I generally don't have a problem with that. And I'm going to talk about Christianity just because that's the religion I know most about. I'm not too familiar with Jewish or Muslim or Buddhist or Hindu. But the biggest problem that I have is, what my concern about what they're teaching children.
Which is the future of humanity. And
Exactly, but it's, it's hard to impress, and one of the topics is hell. I don't think when you're a child that you have to be subjected to something like that. I mean, it's hard for them to grasp, other than it's just a fiery place that people go. What that's going to mean for them if they don't believe in God. People are motivated by the carrot and the stick, and if you don't have if you don't get them with the carrot, which is heaven, then you get them with the stick, which is hell, which is just I don't think it's for
threat and a bribe.
I don't think it's for a child also to think about the concepts of forever.
Well, I agree with you wholeheartedly. We're going to go to break now and bring on another host.
Okay.
The following break video that we're going to see was produced by you.
Yep.
And a very good job it was, too. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Larry.
Religious beliefs, or simply believe in one less God than everyone else? Well, you're not alone. The Atheist Society of Knoxville is a fun and friendly group of people just like you that meets twice a week at a bar or restaurant. We meet every Tuesday night following the show at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria for happy hour. You'll find our group either inside or on the patio. Look for Richard Dawkins' silver-jacketed book, The God Delusion, standing upright on the table. On Fridays, we meet at Agave Azul or the Beard and Beer Market. But if you plan to preach, proselytize, provoke, or punch, please don't. We all question what we believe at one point in our lives. If this is the time for you, come join us for food, drink, conversation, and fun.
And Freethought Forum is also brought to you by the Rationalists of East Tennessee.
That's true.
The Rationalists of East Tennessee, on the other hand, we can't say is an atheist organization, but that is the persuasion of most of the members of the organization.
Right. They get together at Pellissippi Parkway, usually for a program, a speaker of some type on Sunday mornings. for social time at 10:30, I believe, and then the formal program starts about 11.
Yeah,
much like church.
Come early for. No. The program starts at 10:30.
Oh, okay.
Till 12:30, and usually the discussions are so lively that people you have to get in there and bat people over the head to get them to leave. But come early for coffee and conversation.
Right. And this is Jonas Holderman. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
And you're the point man for Camp Quest, I believe, aren't you?
Yes.
For Knoxville area, East Tennessee. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it?
Okay. One of the things that's kind of missing in the Freethought community is a proper support for the children. And what we try to do is to provide that support at least through 1 week in the summertime. Actually, the idea of Camp Quest was originated by Joe Bornhart, who will be here following me. Yeah. He, in the 1990s, he was talking about the sad state of affairs when freethinkers were not providing support for their children, and this idea was picked up by the Free Inquiry Group in Cincinnati, and they started the first Camp Quest, which spread to Tennessee in 2002.
Mm-hmm. They were supplying support for the children, just not a summer camp.
Well, RET is a fairly small organization,
right,
and
it's kind of hard to do that.
There's a problem that if you bring children there, of course everyone wants to hear the program, and someone's got to look after the children and do things for them, and it just doesn't work out unless you have a large number of people who can swap in and provide this kind of support.
I know that you usually have video of the camp. Were you able to bring any of that with you today?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but
okay. Did you mention the specific weeks that it happens this year?
Yes, Camp Quest is going to be held the last week of July. That's the easy way to remember it. Okay. July 22nd to 28th, down at Tremont in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Okay. This Camp Quest of the Smoky Mountains is one of a number of camps around the country, but I think we have one of the best venues for our children's camp. Yeah.
And what kind of things can the children expect to do when they're there?
Oh, just about anything that you would find at a summer camp except prayer.
Prayer. Mm-hmm.
They do swimming in the river there, hiking. Generally, we do some canoeing. They have arts and crafts and discussion groups. A program called Socrates Cafe, which is kind of a formal way of addressing questions in which the participants are all involved.
No scary stories around the fire at night?
Well, no, not so much, but it can
would involve supernatural, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, and we have campfires at night, and those can get quite noisy.
Mm-hmm. What about science? I understand you do some science experiments as well.
Yes, we have on our staff Stan, who comes from Nebraska and generally brings down some microscopes and other kind of science projects. I've been working on one, and Forrest would appreciate this. In fact, he showed the sunspots that are currently available, and that's one of the things we'll hopefully study.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything else you'd like to talk about the camp? I was going to ask you about your deconversion story. I've asked the other hosts if you don't want to share it, that's fine.
Well, that's not really a part of the camp, and generally we don't take a particular position one way or the other in terms of indoctrinating the children.
No, I was just talking about you're sharing it with
although
others,
they arrive there pretty well set on what they believe. But after the camp ended, I think 2 years ago, one person had organized a debaptism ceremony for those who were baptized before the age of consent.
Yeah.
So interesting. They use a hairdryer.
Yeah, I've seen the ceremonies on YouTube and stuff. It's pretty fun.
And you know, we draw kids from all over the eastern United States, 9 states this past year, and likewise, staff comes from a large area. Unfortunately, not a lot of people come from the Knoxville area, and that's something we're trying to change. In fact, for next summer, we'll have more kids right now. Anticipate more kids coming from Chattanooga than from Knoxville, Maryville, and Oak Ridge.
That's surprising.
Well, you know, there are all those who say that we live in the buckle of the Bible Belt, but everyone says that wherever they live around here.
Right. You would think that Chattanooga would be just as ensconced as Knoxville.
Yeah, one would, but there are Freethought organizations down there that are active at various levels.
Well, very good. Which is the kind of reminder, if you're in a city that doesn't have one, that would be a good time to start one. They're starting up all over the country and in some of the smallest towns you can think of.
Yeah, actually, if we've had no campers from East Tennessee to the east of us or to the north, and I've driven over there towards Johnson City. There's some activity in Johnson City, but it seems like a great wasteland almost of East Tennessee and to the north.
Right. We had a caller call in a little while ago to ask us to recommend a good book on free thought and non-belief. Would you have one you'd like to recommend?
Oh, well, let's see. I guess I started out with Robert Ingersoll's Some Mistakes of Moses when I was about 15 years old. That was about 60 years ago, and you know, that struck a real note with me.
Right.
But there are so many books. The one that Richard Dawkins, for instance, and generally,
The God Delusion.
yes, and there are so many others.
I like I like to recommend Carl Sagan's Demon Haunted World. It's the one that actually made me come out and start my activism in this area. So.
Well, let's see. There are some books on like Parenting Beyond Belief, written for parents who are non-believers, and kind of talking about how to go about raising children with a broad viewpoint. I will remark that although Camp Quest was started for the children of atheists, agnostics, humanists, and all manner of non-believers, we welcome children regardless of their beliefs and beliefs of the children or their parents. However, if a child comes who has not been exposed to some of the ideas of diverse ideas of different religions, then they may feel a little uncomfortable there.
Okay. There are beginning to appear a few children's books written by free thinkers. Dan Barker has put out a few, and even Richard Dawkins has put out one now. So the area is opening up a little bit, letting in a little light.
Yeah, I saw someone promoting a program that was based on one of Dawkins' books dealing with evolution.
Yeah. He's got a book out for teenagers now called The Greatest Story Ever Told, or The Greatest Show on Earth. That's it. Not the other one. Well, thank you for coming on the show, and thanks for telling us about Camp Quest. We're going to take a minute and allow Joe Barnhart to come in and see if we can't get
Hey, Joe, come on.
get him introduced to the studio audience and the TV audience. Other books about atheism. George Smith wrote a book called Atheism, The Case Against God. I highly recommend it. It's more of a technical bent if you're philosophical, if you have a philosophical background, have training in logic. George Smith's Atheism, Case Against God is a good read. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much.
This is Joe Barnhart. You have a little bit of training in religion, I understand.
Yes, I was very fortunate. I went to a school of theology.
You went to seminary.
Yeah, 3 years after college, and I was always very grateful for very good teachers.
Yeah. So you were a believer when you went in?
Well, I'm always a believer in some things. Everybody's a believer in something. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But the seminary I went to was an education institution. And so you got a variety of viewpoints. And I mean, this is what good teachers do.
Sure.
And they presented various views, and they presented them well. And that in this way, it allows people to make up their own minds.
No, I've heard good things about seminaries, that if you, a lot of people go in believing and come out not believing because of that very thing that you're talking about. They have good teachers. They disseminate a lot of good information about the source of the Bible and the other holy books and where they actually came from, how they were put together. That would be very eye-opening, I would think.
Yeah, I'd put it a little differently. They come out believing, but different viewpoints.
Okay, well.
Because if you look at the history of science, you can see the history of development of views. Some views that are not held anymore because they've been replaced by other views.
Right.
And you can do the same thing in the history of theology. You can see the development and a discarding of certain views, or sometimes they don't discard them, but they revise them and change them. In other words, whether you're a theologian or you're a scientist or historian, you still have to engage in rational thinking.
Well, sure.
To modify your views and try to improve them. Okay. And that's what education is about.
I see you brought a few notes. There's a couple of things you'd like to touch on.
Well, I wanted to emphasize that most of my life was after I did my graduate work and went to college and seminary, and then my PhD work was to teach. And so that the main thing about teaching is you try to practice the golden rule in academia, and let me explain what that means, is present another viewpoint, whether it's your view or not, as immaterial, as if you would want your view presented. In other words, you want to present it fairly and accurately and persuasively. And then you present another view, and you do the same thing. And this is what, see, in other words, all teaching in that sense is indoctrination, but not just in one view.
Right.
So you have multiple biases, and then you try to get inside each position for your students to explain it as an insider would present it. Otherwise, you're cheating, and then that's not good. And then the students then can gradually make comparisons and evaluations in doing what's called internal and comparative criticism.
Yeah, as a freshman in college here at UT, I went into a debating class, and one of the first things the teacher did was find out what we were passionate about, and then he put us on the other side of the table, trying to defend against that position or argue against it. And it was eye-opening. So
that is eye-opening, yeah. In fact, I've been very fortunate, and I taught for many years religion in American society. I also taught philosophy of science, so that helped me to get different perspectives. And in teaching religion in American society, I was often invited to various groups to observe and to listen to their viewpoint, and then they'd often sometimes ask my viewpoint. And that way you learn to listen, as all good teachers have to be good listeners. Right. And I remember going to the Moonies up in New York.
Oh, really?
And I realized some of these young men and women were very bright. And so I listened, and we dialogued back and forth, and they were trying to give me their view because they knew that since I taught religion, I should understand their view. And I appreciated that. And then after I finished what I thought was my job there, they said, "Can we hire you to stay another day?"
Oh, really?
Hire me to present a view that they were interested in. And I said, "Well, pay me enough to buy one of these beautiful Japanese maple trees." But that's the give and take in education.
So how did you get involved in doing the TV show, and what was your impetus in wanting to do that?
I can't remember, but I've always been involved. I mean, when I was in Dallas, I was invited down to public radio and to be the religion
Counterpoint?
Well, to give commentary. And then I was on TV in Houston once, and then on radio a lot. And so that just became natural. In fact, Boston, the guy offered me an interview to take a job to be on radio, and I thought, oh no, I like my job teaching in the university.
Yeah.
You got more freedom to.
Well, what would you say are the things that we're really trying to accomplish with this show? I ask this because when the call came out from the Rationalists of East Tennessee about who wanted to be a host, three of us initially responded, you, I, and Forrest.
Okay, the main thing I think interested me is I have heard various views misrepresented over many years, and atheism has been greatly misrepresented.
Yes.
And so I believe in freedom of religion and freedom from religion for those who want that choice. And I think the golden rule is let each of you have the freedom as long as they keep the civil peace.
Right. So you're a strong believer in the difference between church and state, or separated?
Oh, very strong. In fact, that's, as we've said on this program, a Baptist minister in New England is one who formulated that more clearly than anybody up until then. That was Roger Williams in the early 17th century. And he had a big impact on eventually his views on Jefferson in this country. So I'm more interested in the freedom, and that's what I remember. I said on this program before, I heard a Baptist minister say that atheism has a noble tradition. And not all Baptist ministers have said that because they don't know the tradition. But this man had studied it, and I've always admired him.
Right.
And there's some atheists I wish would understand some of the other traditions, you know.
We call the show Freethought Forum. Would you like to describe what Freethought actually is?
I sure do. Free thought means, one, presenting views accurately. That's what fairness means, to be accurate. Don't misrepresent somebody. If you don't agree with them, well, first of all, for me to disagree with someone, I have to know what their view is. Otherwise, I'm misrepresenting them. Right. And that's a discipline sometimes to learn what another person holds to.
Sure.
And so I don't really worry about whether a person believes in God or not. That's not, to me, the big issue is whether or not you can talk rationally about specific things like abortion or anything else, whether you can talk intelligently and honestly and treat people with respect.
Yeah. I printed off a definition that I found on Wiki. Free thought is a philosophical viewpoint that holds that opinions should be formed on the basis of science, logic, and reason, and should not be influenced by authority, tradition, or dogma. Now, I agree with that. It's got some good points.
I would
we
say
do have to take into consideration people who have authority in certain areas, but we don't give them carte blanche. We don't say that they're infallible. We talk about the ideas and hold them open to scrutiny.
Yeah, that makes good sense to me.
Right.
I've changed a lot over the years. Fortunately, I'm married. My wife doesn't just buy everything I say.
Well, Joe, thank you for coming on the show,
and
we'll see you back here on Tuesdays, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to bring Johannes. Don't forget your mic there.
My gear here.
We're going to bring back Johannes to close the show for the last 10 minutes. Now, we were talking about atheism, and we were talking about what ASK and RET. ASK is the Atheist Society of Knoxville. Its mission is to supply a venue for community, camaraderie, conversation, and outreach to rationalists and atheists in the East Tennessee area. RET, the Rationalists of East Tennessee, is an organization created to benefit people by expanding understanding of the universe through the use of empirical and rational methods. So you're a member of both, I think, aren't you, at this point, or just ASK?
Yes, I'm a member of ASK. I've been invited to join RET many a time. It's a matter of time, I guess, but more than anything else.
yeah.
But RET, yes, it's a lovely organization, a wonderful, actually surprisingly well-established organization within East Tennessee.
Yeah.
Hence Camp Quest in its existence, which is just a wonderful cause. If anything children should be taught, it's skepticism in science, if not necessarily a religious viewpoint, but skepticism,
Yeah.
empiricism. Yes.
And what would you like to talk about in the last 10 minutes we have here?
I have absolutely no idea about which I would like to speak over these last 10 minutes. However, callers should most assuredly, if nothing else.
The lines are open. See, some people say that atheism is a religion.
I would disagree. I've heard this before, the idea that were atheism a religion, it would be a megachurch. I don't think of atheism as a religion. Far from it, actually. I mean, the idea that one could qualify a lack of belief as an organization dedicated to belief is frankly absurd to me.
Yeah.
But
It's like not collecting stamps as a hobby.
exactly. But what's your hobby? Not collecting stamps. Not building models.
Not playing golf.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. Now, if however you are a member, I mean, are wanting to get married or have some kind of civil ceremony, and you don't want to just go to the justice of the peace.
I thought we can go to someone else. There are alternatives, if I'm not mistaken.
There
Yes.
are, and I'm one of them.
Oh.
I'm an officiant, is what you call it. In the state of Tennessee, apparently, you don't have to have an ordination or certification of any kind.
You must be a witness on behalf of the state.
You are. And you can perform weddings if you so desire. And even before I learned that there was before there was no official requirement for it, I got online and paid $30 and got ordained. That's how easy it is. And regular
Wait. You're a minister?
I'm a Right Reverend Rhodes of a Church of Spiritual Humanism.
Spiritual humanism.
Spiritual humanism.
So with limited knowledge of so are you saying that any given minister might or might not be largely ignorant of the Lord?
That's what I'm saying. If you're a member of a church and you become ordained in the church, it just means basically that you've gotten in good with the hierarchy of the church. The people who are saying, yes, he believes like we do and he will represent our case and our cause, and we ordain him. But it doesn't require any special education, doesn't require any special knowledge. You just have to say that you towed the church's line, basically.
Larry, I have a money-making scheme brewing in my head right now. I won't discuss this on air anyway.
But no, that's one of the reasons that I did become a Right Reverend Rhodes, was just to go online and show how easy it is. Now, ordination, I mean, I've had people come into my house and say, oh, you're an ordained minister. I said, yeah, it cost me $30. And I'm not putting down, like, on the Catholic Church, you were raised in the Catholic Church, they have strict requirements as far as education and knowledge before they will ordain their own ministers. So there's ins and outs of that, and highs and lows. But anyway, we can perform weddings, so if you're looking for a civil ceremony that you wish not to have God introduced into and lorded over everybody, then you can find them. We have a call.
Yes.
So, you want to welcome?
Hello, caller. May I ask your name or nickname?
My name, Reverend Terry Prong.
Reverend Terry Croft?
Prong, P-R-O-N-G.
Prong, yes.
Welcome,
hello,
Reverend.
I'm Johannes. This is Larry of the Atheist Society of Knoxville.
Right Reverend Rhodes.
The Right Reverend Rhodes.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been hearing you talk about being ordained.
Yes.
I believe you missed one important, in fact, as far as I'm concerned, the only reason to be ordained is because you were called upon by the Holy Spirit or by God, not the church, not by man. But
Well, if one believed in God, yes, I guess that would be a case, but we don't believe in God. We don't believe that He's real.
Anything else is then just a misuse of the system, and you're defrauding the people who would be married or who you would marry.
Not according to the state.
Well, yeah, Okay.
Now, these people that I married are non-religious people. They are not coming to me to be joined in the sight of God.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't really aware that there was atheist marriages that just...
There are secular marriages.
Well, I mean, I imagine if that's what you... then it's all a monetary deal. In other words, the only reason they...
It barely pays my gas.
No, I'm not talking about you.
Okay.
I'm talking about the reason why people would even want to get married. I mean, like, I'm an old hippie, so I've lived with...
Do you not understand that there's certain laws that you can take advantage of as far as dual incomes and tax rates and things like that?
That's what I said. It's a monetary gain.
Okay, it's a financial institution.
Yeah, it's a financial gain.
Okay,
so,
that's where I misunderstood you.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, I'm just curious because I had a friend call me and said, "Man, I can make a lot of money just like the one gentleman there. His brain's working. I can make a lot of money, doing weddings in Gatlinburg. Can you ordain me? Because I am ordained, and so I can ordain." I said, "No, I can't do that because you're looking to make a monetary gain out of it and not a spiritual gain." So
no, I'm really just trying, like you, I'm trying to serve the people that are in my club. Some of them come to me and say, "We'd like to get married. Can you perform the wedding?" And I say, "Yes."
I understand that.
It's difficult to get a judge and to find it. Many people don't know judges, and the civil ceremony is so stripped down.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Essentially, the idea is to have a secular ceremony. There's no invocation of a god or lack of gods. It's merely a celebration of the love of two individuals who wish to come together, as recognized by the great state of Tennessee. And that's, I guess, what the I guess we should put this in quote marks. The Right Reverend Rhodes does.
Right.
Okay, I understand that. I mean, used to be it was the justice of the peace that performed those ceremonies, right?
Absolutely.
There still are. In some states.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to what
The state of Tennessee merely requires a legally recognized witness for America.
And I'm sorry, but we're coming down to the end of the show. We about have a minute.
Thank you so much for your input.
And thank you for your call. We're here every Tuesday night. Tonight is an exception. Tuesday night, 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. We need to start wrapping up the show.
Yep.
This has been the special evening presentation of the Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee.
We are atheists, agnostics, and freethinkers who are troubled by the Christo-Talibanization, radicalization of any politicians who would use the civil law to impose their retrograde, anti-science, bigoted, misogynistic, violent, and often immoral, myth-biased ideas on all Americans.
This is what an atheist, an agnostic, or a freethinker in Tennessee looks like. We're your friendly neighborhood atheists. Depending on how you ask the question, on the demographic, non-believers are 2 to 20% of the nation. We're a community that if you don't believe in Zeus,
or Osiris,
or Inanna,
or Yahweh,
or Thor,
or Bacchus,
you are not alone. Well, please send us feedback. You can send us questions by writing them